Hey folks, it's DC here from DC's Gadgets. Today's the 23rd of March 2020, and I'm out at the club yard fixing to go in a box, and I'm doing a follow-up to something I did last week about, what do you do when you find queen cells? And the reason for the follow-up is because this is one of those topics that just keeps coming around, kind of like the topic about, what's the best box joint to use making beehives. It gets run around ad nauseum. But the question came up today in a Facebook group. An individual had a queenless colony and tossed in a brood frame and now has a bunch of queen cells and more queen cells than they really need. And the question is, when can those queen cells safely be moved? And so responses vary, and there's so many responses. It's the typical thing. You ask 5 beekeepers a question, you get 7 answers, right? And some of the answers are good, some of the answers are kind of off the wall, and most of the answers follow a logical pattern. And so we get into this exact science of guesswork. A lot of it's just guesswork. But there is some science involved also. So let's look at the exact science first. We know that bees can make a queen from a larva between day 4 and day 6 from the day the egg hatched out. And you might get to day 6.5, but we're going to call it day 6. There are no such thing as half days. So that's science, which does not change. They have to have a larva in that age group, day 4 to day 6, to make a queen. So if you've got a queenless colony, and your intent is to put a brood frame in there with the intention to make a queen, and you know you're going to do this, if you take a frame of just drawn comb, stick it in a queen-right colony for 3.5, 4 days, pull that drawn comb out, stick it in your queenless colony, you know that there's nothing in that colony older than day 4, so it's day 4. Pretty simple. Now, in the instance with the person that posted on the group, this was a frame of brood coming from an active colony. Had eggs and larva bowls. In that case, you have to count at day 6, because you don't know. They can make a queen from a day 6 larva. So, we get the handy little wheel out. If I can find my handy little wheel here. Amazing that I know I got several in the truck. Here it is. It's all down next to my foot. Get the handy little wheel out. Now, I'm in the yard today because I'm doing exactly the same thing. I've got a colony here in the club yard that sometime between 5 o'clock last Sunday and 5 o'clock last Monday lost the queen. And I'm inclined to believe it was sometime mid-Monday because I was in here Monday evening and I found a dead queen body laying in the beehive. They hadn't cleaned it out yet. So I know that there's eggs and larvae in that box. And we were in there yesterday and there's like 10 or 12 queen cells and most of them are capped. So I have to count that last Monday as day 6. And if I don't, if I want to harvest the cells anyway, I've got to count it that way. If I don't count it as day 6, if I count it as day 4, I guarantee I'll have a queen come out earlier than my calculations, and I'll lose the potential graft site or the potential harvest I can get on the queen cells. So I take my handy little disc here, and I'm going to make last Monday, day 6, which last Monday was the 14th, right? Because today's the 23rd. So if I make last Monday, day 6, that means on the 22nd, they should go in a nuke. On the 24th, they're coming out. So I really need to move it because, according to this, if last Monday was day 6, I should have put them in a nuke yesterday. And it really hasn't been super hot. If the weather had been hotter, I could expect them to be coming out sometime today or tomorrow. So another question comes up about transporting cells horizontally and vertically. I mean, most people talk about how you can't turn them over and you gotta be real careful, don't shake them. Yeah, that's true. If you mess with a queen cell between days 9 and day 12, you're liable to destroy it. After day 12, they're pretty robust. And I carry cells around in a little hot box. A lot of people have seen it before. A little hot box. It's got a little screen thing in the bottom. And I just lay them down sideways in this thing. And I take them home and they go in a weekly pill minder. And they sit in my incubator. And about 80% of the cells they harvest off a comb will come out in the incubator. You gotta be careful with them. Some don't come out, maybe because I damaged them, maybe they're damaged beforehand. So you get into the guesswork part, and you get into the personal preference. And what do you want to do? If you do nothing, you take a big chance of getting an early queen out and destroying all your other cells. If you cut out half or a little more than half of the cells and stick them in some kind of a cage, you run the potential of harvesting maybe half the ones you cut out. Maybe you kill half. If you got 7 queen cells in your box and you cut 5 of them out, you could get 2 out of 5. You could get 4 out of 5. Make it all 5 out of 5. Odds are against you for that, but you take the chance. My suggestion is, if you've made queen cells, if you've moved frames around, and you know the day that you moved the frame, that becomes day 6. And you've got to move those those queen cells before day 14, or on day 14 at the latest, because if it's hot, day 15 she's coming out, especially if it's like an older day 6 larva. So those are my 2 cents. A little bit of guesswork, a little bit of science. I'm erring toward the science, so I'm fixing to go back here in this box. I'm going to cut at least 6 or 7 of these queen cells out. I'm going to stick them in my hot box. They'll go home, they'll go in the incubator, and we'll see what comes out at the end of this week.